now Shabbos is shir, tomorrow's shir. He says Lamosha, for example. And here you're going to see this second and third prat brought home to more clearly. First of all, that the thought of the Eibishter surrounds us, Sevav surrounds us, but more importantly, this surrounding of Sevav Kalaman is actually what creates us. Kadur ha'aretz halazu, this physical earth, globe, says that Yossi is Baruch. The fact that Hashem is aware of us, Ma'kefes, it encompasses and surrounds, Kol oivi kada aretz, the entire thickness of the ball of the earth. Everything that's inside and the inner inside till its very bottom. Hakal all of it, mamash, and actual fact. Says the Rebbe, first of all, Sevav Kalaman is here. But second of all, says the Rebbe, Shara Yediyazu, this knowledge that Hashem knows about what's happening in this world, is actually the life and the reality of the entire thickness of the sphere, the ball of the earth in its entirety. And Hashem's knowledge is what's creating it mi'ayin from a state of non-existence, to a state of yes existence. But mitzad Sevav Kalaman alone, if Sevav Kalaman itself will create, Hashem creates the world by thinking about it. And He wouldn't make this one-way mirror called Tzimtzum, that to us we're outside of the Ein Sof. To us Sevav is hidden, and to Him Sevav is revealed. The world wouldn't exist. The world would be part of Sevav Kalaman. It wouldn't be as it is now. Bal Gvul, limited with a purpose. V'chayes mu'etas me'ed, in a very limited amount of life, k'dei b'chinas teim tzemech, enough to create even minerals and plants. So therefore, it's azay. If we knew what Sevav Kalaman knows, that Sevav Kalaman is still here, we would know, first of all, that Sevav Kalaman is infinite. Second of all, that we're part and parcel with Sevav Kalaman. And third of all, our existence is the fact that Sevav Kalaman is thinking about us. Imlai, so how do we exist as we do? Hashem makes many and intense tzimtzums. Shetzimtzumu, ha'er v'achayz, Hashem is mitzamtzum, the air which is Sevav, and chayz which is mamalit. Sheneslavach, so that the amount that is revealed, Bekadur ha'aretz, in the sphere, the globe of the earth, of life and existence, is in a way that's measured, limited, and with a specific purpose. To the extent of creating minerals and plants alone. So, in our experience, the chayes is reduced and reduced and reduced and reduced to allow us to exist to the point of Daimim and Sameach. But if we would see what Sevav Kalaman sees, since Sevav Kalaman is here, it's just hidden. There's another, and in addition to that, Yossi is Baruch, this knowledge that the Eibishter knows us, gives us our existence. Now he goes off on a tangent about the Eibishter's knowledge. And this tangent is very important. What does he tell us about the Eibishter's knowledge? You should know that Yossi is Baruch, is Am Yochedet Musi Batzmusi. The knowledge that Hashem has of the world has to be one with the Eibishter himself. Because the Rambam writes, Ki hu hamada, v'ho yedeya, v'ho yadua, he's the power of knowledge, the one who is knowing, and the thing that is known. Because it must be that by knowing himself, he knows all the creations. Because you cannot say there's no such thing as the knowledge outside the Eibishter, like the way a person knows. Everything exists from the truth of the Eibishter, and therefore there has to be and the Alter Rebbe adds, no person can understand this properly. This idea that the Eibishter knows b'yediyas atzmi and Huayidei and Huamada is the Rambam Zal. The Rambam writes it. The Alter Rebbe said it already in Hagor and Perek Beis. He's going to say it later again in Shari Yichud Mun and Hagor and Perek Tes. 3 times the Alter Rebbe says the same thing. Why he has to say it 3 times, I don't know. And each time it's with small shinuyim. Kabbalah agrees with the Rambam in Atsilas. As the Padas writes in Ramak. As the Ramak writes in Padas. And the same is true also according to the Rizal. Even though the Rizal holds from Tzimtzum Arishan, as opposed to the Ramak Shodom and Tzimtzum, nevertheless, that we say that Tzimtzum and V'slapches Eidos B'Kelim, based on the principles of the many Tzimtzum, and the revelation of Eidos and Kelim, even according to the Arizal, and for sure according to the Ramak, we agree with the Rambam and Atzilus about the idea of Hoyedei and Yedu Amad. The commission is by the Perek Beis and Dago. Now, what's the issue of Yediyah? Issue of Yediyah is the Rambam. Rambam has a kasha. How can Hashem know what's happening in the world? Because if Hashem knows what's happening in a changing world, He should Himself change. The fancy English word for change is dynamic. And God cannot be dynamic. He has to be static. He has to be constant, never changing. So that Pakursim therefore said that Hashem doesn't know what's going on. He cannot know what's going on. A changeless God cannot be directly involved in a changing world. So they've come up with many tiny schemes to explain how the world could exist, how it could be created by the Eibush, and the Eibush is not creating it. And essentially they hold of Yesh Miyesh. They don't believe in Yesh Miyayin. The Eibush is not really creating the world. He's just mixing the soup and nice things come out. with intelligence, but indirectly. The Rambam says no, this is Yesh Miyai. So Hashem has to be directly involved. How can Hashem be directly involved in a dynamic world without being himself dynamic? And the answer is, Hashem doesn't know the world as something separate from him. He knows the world because the world is him. And because he knows the world because the world is him, it's not knowing the world, it's knowing the world as it's him. And since he's knowing the world as it's him, so there's no shinui in him. And this is a raya to Tzimtzum Shleikim Shudei. The Rambam is the source of our shita that you have to say that Ein Sof is still here. You can't say the world is separate from Malakus because they're going to have the Shaila of Yediyah. So we know two things. First of all, the Eibush is knowing us, creates us, Sevev Kalaman. I'm going backwards now. What I called before 3 is now becoming 1. First of all, the Eibush is knowing us creates us. Second of all, the knowing us is not separate from us. The Eibush is Ein Sof is in Makam HaCholol. The Sevev Kalaman is here. Narva then, there's a tzimtzum to us, in our experience is a tzimtzum. To us there's a mamalik kalalman. Even though we're swimming in a soup, we're swimming in a sea of Sevev Kalalman, and the sea of Sevev Kalalman, and the idea of the Eibush Fayachol, of us is our very, very existence. Hashem stops thinking about us, we simply disappear. Says the Rebbe, Harei, thus, Yediyah zu this Yediyah, Ma'achash b'chinas ein sof, as it's called, isn't it infinite? You can't call it revealed. Bekadar aretz in the sphere and the globe of the earth, Shubal Gvul v'tachas, which is limited with a specific purpose. Alamakefes v'seveves. It surrounds, but surrounds doesn't mean spatially distant, outside. Sevev means Helen, but it's right here in the Mokam HaChol. That after Yediyah zu, hold this knowledge. Kalelas kalavye b'teichel v'pe'al mamish. Hashem's Yediyah, Sevev Kalaman, surrounds the entire thickness and the inside of the world, actually, not like in a person's imagination, with just the idea of the home is in your brain. But Vayachal, when the Eibush, the Sevev Kalaman, knows the world, he knows the Gashmias of it also. That's number 1. And number 2, the Eibush, the Sevev Kalaman, Yediyah, Mahave Eisei. Sevev Kalaman is actually creating the world. Ayadei through the Yediyah, Me'ayin Liyesh. From a state of non-existence into a state of separate existence. So Sevev Kalalman doesn't mean surrounding, it means hidden. Sevev Kalalman is right here, right now. And Sevev Kalalman is aware of the world. And the awareness that Sevev Kalalman has of the world, this is the creation of the world. This is the truth. And there's Tzimtzumim. And the Tzimtzumim create Mamalik Kalalman. And the Tzimtzumim are enormous. In other words, the Gabe Us is a one-way mirror, so to speak, system where the Gabe Us, we exist separate from the Eibishter. And for this there has to be a Tzimtzumim. Now, the Rebbe is going to argue in Perek Mem Tes. We owe the Eibishter a debt of gratitude. Kamayim upon him. He's kvetching himself. We should kvetch ourselves also. But in this Perek, he didn't get to the Tzimtzum. He started off with Tzimtzum. It's the very beginning of the Perek, on page 134, he started off with Tzimtzum. And almost immediately he went on to talk about Sevev Kalam. And Mem Tes is going to go back to continue the discussion on Tzimtzum.